survey from last year. And I think this number is actually surprisingly low. And maybe if we ask this question today, then probably the number will be higher. And I wonder a bit about the other 40%. Do they underestimate the impact of AI, or do they think that they're going to have everything under control? And of course, the big question is, how will the role be transformed? And obviously, the underlying concern might be, do they have concern that AI will replace them, or do they rather see an opportunity in AI and see AI as an extension of their skills, more like an assistant? I think today what is a fact is that marketing and the marketing environment becomes increasingly complex. There's more and more channels to be managed. These channels are dynamic, they come and go, their importance changes all the time. We have new regulations, we have third-party cookie deprecation. So overall, I think processes in performance marketing become more complex. And also interesting, another number from experience with Nexoya, that we know that 90% of performance marketing teams don't use AI at all, for instance, to manage a cross-channel performance marketing. So that's also quite an interesting number. On the other hand, if we look at the adoption, and this is an example of ChatGPT, we see that AI is adopting extremely fast. So for ChatGPT, we compare it to TikTok, also had a super fast adoption. We see that ChatGPT had 100 million unique visitors 2 months after launch. And of course, it was a lot of trying out and playing around. But if you look at it from a competitive advantage and imagine yourself that your competitors are already using AI, then you might want to adopt AI too. And there's obviously an underlying fear of missing out, that something really dramatic is going on and you won't be part of it. But let's be realistic about artificial intelligence, where we actually are right now. And you have maybe heard of the various stages of AI. So stage 1 is called the artificial narrow intelligence, and that's actually where we are right now. So even ChatGPT, who can do an amazing job in leading a conversation in human language with humans, it's still narrow in the sense that what we have today, what AI can do, is typically one purpose. So these are models which are really trained for one specific task. They're obviously really, really good, and they extend their capabilities, but it's not that you can just take an application which, for instance, leads a conversation and suddenly expect this application to create music. So it's really limited to one purpose. If we go one step further and go to stage 2, general intelligence, there we already have multi-purpose models who can do multiple tasks at once. And so they can even, we see creation of new models, we see transfer of skills, and so on and so forth. And as a last step, so to say, we could even say the final step, and it's a big question if this is ever going to be reached, is the stage 3, which is artificial superintelligence, ASI, where we have cognitive self-learning. And so we talk here about generic models, we talk about consciousness, we talk about something which works like a human. And there's a lot of debate whether this stage can ever be reached or not reached. So we are now at stage 1, even if what we see is rather impressive if you think about the whole generative AI part. And just to mention, if we talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning, then artificial intelligence essentially encompasses everything, also hardware, software, robots, whereas machine learning is a subset and is focusing on software and on the algorithms. So we have to be realistic where we are right now and what AI actually can do. But obviously, there is superpowers even today. So AI can give superpowers to marketeers, and I would like to give you some examples. It's just examples, and Nick will go a little bit deeper and also talk about his experience. So examples are, for instance, personalized communication. So we talk here about natural language between humans and systems. Obviously, we talk about chatbots. We talk about call centers who are able to guide the conversation and then only have assistance with the real humans if the conversation gets stuck. We also have AI, which can suggest the next best action or understand the customer journey and adjust the content and, for instance, send personal messages by understanding this customer journey. One other application is precise audience targeting. So we have AI, which can understand customer behavior and, for instance, provide recommendations. So we are here, for instance, in an e-commerce context where AI can suggest products, for instance, based on the user patterns and behaviors. And AI also can be used, obviously, for user profiling and building audience or audience extension for precise targeting in advertising. Then a big area is content creation or generative AI. And this is probably something which is now very, let's say, popular and touches everyone who works in marketing, whether it's text, images, videos, music, creatives, whole web pages, code. There are hundreds of tools which can help to create this type of content. You all know these tools like ChatGPT, Midjourney, DALL-E, Suno, and so on and so forth. And obviously, there's also concern that the content which is created is not really special. And I think that's something also which we're going to address in a couple of seconds. You probably also have seen the latest advances of Google Lumiere for video creation, and also what OpenAI has published recently is quite impressive. Then we have the topic of dynamic creative optimization. So AI is really, really good in creating lots of variations and measure that and predict which of the creatives actually work best. And there's quite some interesting advances there. So multivariant testing, and there are also companies, for instance, who use AI for computer vision to embed advertising into content. Then we have bidding strategies. So you can use AI to come up with an optimal bidding strategy. There are some of these large platforms, and also SSPs and DSPs have obviously these strategies built in based on AI. Then something mostly interesting in retail and e-commerce is customer lifetime value predictions. So understand from how user behave, how customer behave, to a customer segmentation, detect shopping patterns, and then also provide personalized communication or post-sales or pre-sales promotions based on the customer. We have the topic of fraud detection prevention. This is about detecting clickbots and malicious content to eliminate wasteful spending. And obviously, if you're advertising, you want to make sure that only genuine users actually see your advertising. Then process automation. I mean, that's a wide topic. That's also where Nexoya can help. A concrete example is also cross-channel budget optimization and simulation. That's essentially what Nexoya does. So process automation is a big topic and typically is a good way, a good place to start, because typically process automation provides a direct ROI. So these are just examples. There's much, much more you can do, and I think also Nick will talk a little bit more about these applications from his experience. Now there are also concerns related to AI, and the one which obviously is most dominant is will AI replace marketeers? And so in the example of generative AI, of course, we have the big question, what about creativity? Will all the creativity will it be replaced by AI? Or is it more like an inspiration? And what is actually creativity? You probably also have heard about the open letter from musicians mainly in the US who are concerned that AI takes away their business and kind of replaces their creative act, so to say, to creating music by something which is kind of repeatable? Is it also okay to, for instance, train and generate new music based on voices of singers? That's a big question. Then we have ethical questions. So who is responsible if an AI is actually operating? And the good thing is actually in marketing, in most cases, we don't have critical applications, but think about autonomous cars, think about really critical like weapon systems, where sometimes AI is not really explainable and the output is hard to control. And you know probably about this famous example of an autonomous car. And you know, in facing an accident, the big question, okay, do I harm the driver or do I harm the pedestrian? So who takes actually these questions? So obviously this asks for some regulations. We have privacy abuse topic. You all probably know the General Data Protection Regulation, which is in force since 2018. And AI obviously needs data and collects a lot of data. And the question is always, what data is stored? If you think about face recognition example, if you think about deepfakes, right? What data is stored, for what purpose? Is it removed? Can I control as a user what data is stored about me? And then the final really super hard question, or let's say the ultimate fear, is actually the so-called rule of the machines. If you think about the 3 stages, if you think about the artificial super intelligence, will machines at some point enslave humans? Will we be able to pull the plug if this is the case? What can't be denied is actually today we are already dependent from technical systems, but that's actually not related to AI. And I think we have to kind of watch what's happening, even if this stage 3, like real consciousness of machines, that's really debatable if this will ever be, if we will ever see that. The good thing is actually also that on the regulation side, in particular, the European Union has started to act and do something. So there is the Artificial Intelligence Act, which this has been published and should be enforced very soon, I think in May, June this year. And this is about responsible AI. And so this AI Act addresses the risks specifically created by AI applications and wants to prohibit AI practices that pose unacceptable risk. So it's risk-based, and high-risk applications just have to take more measures to protect essentially and make sure that they act responsibly. And as said before, what is really good for us, for everyone in marketing, performance marketing or advertising or marketing in general, that in most cases we don't have any high-risk applications. Now, how can you adopt AI in your organization? And I think here important is that you avoid the top 3 reasons why AI project can fail, and that's namely solving the wrong problem, not having the right data, and lacking ownership. So Gartner research showed that only 53 of projects make it from a prototype to production. And the problem is that in many cases, it's just about playing around without, be able to measure the impact, without specifying a real goal, and without any clear benefit and ROI. And of course, you want to avoid that. The other point is typically that you don't have the right data to actually do it properly. And AI needs a lot of data, and typically you need to clean the data, you need to remove the bias. And as an example, again, from Nexoya, performance measurement, what we do, and predictions only work if you actually clean the data and compare the data you get from the multiple channels, and we spend a reasonable amount of time to actually make this data comparable. And then also the third one is about lacking ownership. So if you see AI only as a little research project, then obviously it will fail. It needs ownership, also ownership from the management. You need to invest into the people. You need to give guidance in order essentially to be successful. But I think it's okay, totally okay, to try out stuff, to see what works, what doesn't work, and to iterate fast and then improve. That's it for the first part, and happy to hand over to Nick.
Perfect. Thank you, Roshi. So yeah, now I want to dive a little bit into performance marketing and share a little bit my thoughts and my experience on this topic. I mean, what is happening? A lot is happening. It's basically all the platforms, TikTok, Google, Meta, they're introducing more and more AIs into their platforms. And I mean, personally, when I think about it, it's like when I started with Google Ads a few years back, it was like, how do I find the optimal bits? And I didn't use any AI, I didn't use anything. It was just like, yeah, what do we bid today? Let's do some statistics. So it was really a lot of manual, statistical, technical work to do campaigns. And I mean, if we think about now, especially with Google as an example, they're introducing things like broad match. So, I mean, they're basically telling you, just put in the keywords, landing page, and then we will find the right customer for you. It will be basically automatic. They also introduced performance max campaigns. I mean, also there it's quite, I will talk about this later on a little bit more, but it's basically just give us some assets and then we will create the campaign for you. So on one side, I think it's quite great. You can really leverage the platform and let them do some kind of work for you. So basically, when we think about the first slide of Roger, when he said only 60% of marketers thinks their work will be transformed or changed through AI. I mean, I can say in performance marketing, I hope at least 100% of the marketers have been influenced by AI in the last few years. And then, I mean, also if we look at Meta, just to also talk about that, I mean, Meta basically everything is now advanced plus. So basically they're now changing every feature they have. This means like targeting, placements, I mean, now even ads, shopping, everything is advantage plus based on AI. And that's a little bit challenging also for me, because before we try to leverage like AI and then give the AI or the optimized data to Google or to Meta. So this meant like for the product feeds, for example, we created perfect product feeds with products with high margins, with products that were not sold as much as they should have. So basically, we did a lot of work before we gave the data to Google or to Meta. And I think now with those fast changes, I mean, I have here like the product feeds also mentions. So now Google is also offering a new tool to optimize the feed. So now you cannot even optimize the feed anymore because they can do that for you. So yeah, my learning is do not try to compete with the platforms, or try to find out what kind of things the platforms do and will do in the near future. So I think probably also the whole topic of content. I mean, it's already here, not as good as it should be, but I mean, they're already now generating ads for you. So basically everything you do that's on the platform will not give you an advantage over other companies. So if we talk like about product feeds, I think then probably you should start to build like your own product description, your own product inventory, and not just let like Google do the final stuff on your platform. Or also, yeah, when we talk about Nexoya, it's a platform that does something over Meta, over Google, over TikTok. So you need to think about topics that will have an impact on all the platforms and not just on one platform, because I think in the next year we will see that they will try to kind of in-house everything. So yeah, try to find out what they will do in the next years. I mean, it's already quite obvious. So the whole content part, and you will have less and less let's say, options to change things in your campaigns. Then let's talk shortly about how I think at the moment it's possible to use Gen AI to support the creation of assets. I think for the most, it's ideal and perfect to have a starting point for ad creation. So let's say an example, what we do is like to create Google Ads. I mean, if you start from scratch, start to write everything, it takes a lot of time. So now it's quite easy to generate either with Gemini or also with ChatGPT, a small script that will give you many ideas and a good starting point for the creation of ads. So you can spend more time like to perfect the ads and do the fine details, and you don't need to think too long and too much. Where should I start? What could be important? So you can really concentrate on the details. That's where I see, or where we use it a lot, and where I also see other people using it a lot. Then what's kind of a hot topic, I would say at the moment, at least when I think about like the last 2-3 months, when I talk to people or also looked at other platforms, it's the whole topic about optimization of product information. So a lot of e-commerce shop, they get their data from the seller, which is most of the time not really complete. A lot of data is missing. So sometimes, I don't know, a color is missing. There's no descriptions. Some prices are wrong, those kind of things. And I've seen now quite a lot of tools, also not based on Google, where you can just upload your data, kind of already train also your own model, and then it will fill up the missing product informations. So you will have a better search on your website. Also, then if you give the feed to Google, to Meta, it will most likely have a better performance. And I think, yeah, that's where I see, especially in e-commerce, a hot topic. Then let's talk about the risks. I mean, for my presentation, I also generated 3 pictures really fast with DALL-E. And I mean, if you don't spend too much time on it and just do something, there's a big risk that everything looks the same. I mean, I think at the moment there are exceptions, but most of the Gen AI pictures, and also I still think a lot of texts you can recognize quite easily, and they're also quite similar. So I think that's something to be really aware of. And I think there you can start like with training your own models. And let's say if I talk about like training your own models, this does not need to be like a complete model where you put in like just all your data and then you start to find out what kind of model, then you optimize it. I mean, even a customized smart prompt where you use to generate pictures for Midjourney or generate text on ChatGPT or Gemini or wherever is already something that is kind of trained or where you can make a difference to your competitors. And then probably the next step from prompt is like a custom GPT on ChatGPT where you have even more information. And then maybe you can start like fine-tuning an existing model more deeply. And then, okay, at one point, maybe you have your own model. But I think it's really step by step, and there are quite easy solutions to also get there. But yeah, the main thing is, I think, because if you think about how those models work, they work with average. So really try to find out to still be different and stick out from the others. And I mean, there are quite a lot of good examples also out there. And like the last topic I want to talk about is like my main challenge, or where I have a lot of challenges at the moment. And that is when something goes wrong. So let's say I have a performance max campaign, or I have an advantage plus campaign on Meta, and then you see like this campaign, it's not performing that well. But I mean, AI thinks, okay, we should put a lot of budget there. And I mean, we don't know why they're putting that much budget there. Also targeting, they're starting like, I don't know, to target an age. Also, if we talk like about an Advantage Plus campaign on Meta, where you don't really put in anything for targeting, they're just using the wrong target group or the wrong age group. And also in the results, sometimes we see things that we cannot explain. And that is really a big issue, because before, I mean, you had a lot of options where you could tweak it. You knew kind of, okay, if I put the budget up in this campaign, this will happen. If I change the targeting there, okay, this will change. And at the moment, it's really complex to troubleshoot campaigns where you don't have any insights. So you don't know like how the AI model is working, what the AI does, why it does such things. And I mean, there is also no transparency in this area. And yeah, I think that at the moment is really the tough thing. So always, even if you use AI on the platforms, which you should do not only rely on them, and yeah, think about why something could happen, or how you could find out why something is happening. So I think that's quite a big topic. And yeah, to finalize that, so I have 4 things I think that are quite important. The first thing is like really provide AI with quality data. So I mean, data was always important. I don't know since how many years people are telling you that, but I still think if you have your like unique data and you can leverage that now with AI, it will really help you for a better AI performance. Then, I mean, you should leverage the generative AI for creatives. As I said, more for basic or to get a lift off, and not for the final creatives. And then third step, it's quite obvious. You should really like continue to learn and really test. And the last point is really investing in training people. And there it's also important. I not only mean like in AI or how to use AI. I also think it's important that you not only teach people how to use AI, they should also know like how stuff really is working, so they have a better understanding of how AI works or what AI does. Because if they don't know, let's say, anything about performance marketing, they can still do an easy campaign on Google Ads, but they will not understand why things are happening, and they cannot improve. So yeah, that are the 4 points, and then let's continue. And I mean, probably Roger wants to say some things here as well.
Yes, of course. I mean, we can also do it together. It's obviously a bit risky to do, let's say, a prediction, the future of AI, because maybe if we did this prediction in 3 months from now, then maybe, it would again look different because so much is going on. But of course, what we see is what we would call an AIification of companies and applications. I mean, you go to a conference and every company is essentially an AI company or wants to be an AI company. And if you recently look at the AI landscape, and you really see thousands of tools, and obviously we also will see a consolidation of tools, because obviously not everything works. There will be a very hard competition. I would also predict that the big companies will win, the big tech companies, because they have the data, they have the user base. They're going to build essentially an AI layer, and you see that. I mean, what Nick just showed about or told us about Google, about Meta, for them it just comes as an additional layer, and they have done research for the last 10, 15 years on that. Then I think the next point, which is really, really key, also Nick gave just examples about transparency and control. Explainability of AI is even a big research topic. I think it's important to give customers and users to some extent control, that AI is not just a black box which just produces something which you can't explain. And you really have to gain the trust. You have to really work hard on the trust to customers. And also at Nexoya, we spend a lot in creating additional insights, which we give to customers when our models actually output results. We also have the AI regulations to make sure that AI can act in a responsible manner. The fast progress on generative AI, I mean, this is almost daily. You find new tools or you find advances in video creation, goes from 10 seconds to 1 minute creation to a full, soon we're going to have full movies created by AI, but exactly with the risk and concerns that Nick also said, that everything looks the same. And as a brand, obviously you want to look different, and what your content has to fit to your brand and to your values and so on. Interesting part, natural language. There was always the question, how will systems actually communicate with each other? And people were, publishing APIs and new standards, and likely scenario is actually that natural language will be the way how humans and machines communicate, but maybe even machines communicate with each other. And I think almost a little bit as a conclusion about the question about the concerns and what I said at the beginning about this AI will transform the role of marketeers. So I think what we believe is that AI is not really like a replacement, hopefully, of humans, but you should embrace it. You see it as an extension. It should extend your skills. And we see it almost like as a strategic advisor. So that means humans, obviously, they own the real creativity, the creative process, and the decision making. And AI should assist the human in making great decisions. And then the last point about the artificial superintelligence, will it come at some point? We don't know, but we have to watch closely what happens, and obviously not make us completely dependent of AI and machines and systems in general. This has a short outlook. I'm not sure, Nick, if you want to add something.
No, I mean, we agree on those topics, and I think, it's really adding on, what we discussed here. And I think now all the guys here. So now we're excited to see what kind of questions or topic there are.
Yes, thanks a lot for the amazing presentation. And yes, now we're actually opening the Q&A session. So if you have your questions, please post it in the chat box. While we are waiting for some questions, I see some already coming in. But I actually also had one question which I really wanted to ask, and yes, because I'm struggling a lot with that. So you just mentioned that at the moment there are like thousands of AI AI tools, and I think sometimes it seems like every week there is a new AI tool that you definitely need to check out. And how do you actually keep track of these tools? So how do you choose which ones you want to spend your time on? Because I think it can be super overwhelming to have so much variety of tools. What would be your tips?
Yeah, it's not that easy. I mean, I think for me now, I really try to concentrate on topics that are helpful for me. So let's just say, like, if we talk about music, I mean, sometimes I do something with music, but I ignore it a little bit. Also, let's say video, I ignore it a little bit. So I try to spend, like, for me, the text generation it's quite important or helps me a lot. So I just try to concentrate on those kind of new models or new solutions. And I know a lot of people, so I talk to a lot of people and try to share what they know, and I try to share what I know. And I think also in our office here we talk about it, and so you don't need to test every tool. So you just ask some people, did you test that? And then so share the burden a little bit.
Yeah, same here. We have some people in our network which are really on top of things and try out a lot, and sometimes you get a recommendation. And then some of the tools which I use as an example, Loom, just for creating a video, like educational video or communication video, they start just including AI features. So that's what I mentioned before, AI layers. And you naturally start using them, or summarizing emails in Gmail, for instance. So you naturally start using that. But of course, I also use the obvious ones and try to experiment and try to push the boundaries. But it's mostly about recommendations, talking with other people, reading, and just trying out, essentially.
It's word of mouth, basically.
Yes.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's the most efficient, effective way in marketing overall. Yes, I actually now see that we have some questions. Let me now publish them. So first question from Jessica. What are the main challenges organizations face when incorporating AI into their marketing, and how can they overcome these challenges?
I would say Roger is more.
Yeah, so I think you have to start with the people. So you have to have the skills. You have to have the people who understand AI. I mean, that's one thing. Then you have to define a clear goal or like a project where you have also where you can measure the benefit. I think automation is really a good place to start. And I think there's also a study about, I don't have the numbers here, about successes of AI projects. And it turns out that if you automate, for instance, some of your core processes, that actually can provide you, with AI, that can actually provide you quite good ROI. But where you start obviously depends on in which area you are, whether you want to improve your marketing performance, maybe you want to understand your customer journey. That depends obviously where you are. And then also, I mean, educate yourself, go to conferences, talk to other people, look at success stories and use cases to find out what other companies have achieved. And it doesn't mean that you have to implement your AI models yourself. You can also go to a company which can actually help you. But important is you need to understand what you want to reach, and you have to really define the project. You have to give enough guidance and ownership, and also measure the success and try to iterate and improve fast and get rid of the stuff which doesn't work and improve the stuff which actually works.
That's good. Yes, then we have another question from Andrea. I'm actually also very curious about this one. So question to both of you. Which AI tools you actually use and love the most in marketing? Do you have any recommendations?
I mean, the most, it's quite obvious. I would still say like it's ChatGPT, just because it's there, and then it's so obvious. And I mean, a little bit undervalued is probably the whole Google Cloud, if you think about like automation or integration, because there are still there are already a lot of people like they have some connection with Google or already in the Google Cloud. So we see quite a few clients that are now using like Gemini or like the whole Vertex API from Google Cloud, which I think is quite nice, because so the integration works for a lot of them well. So I would say those two areas are probably the ones I love most and use most.
I think also for personal use, maybe a bit differentiate personal use versus, let's say, fully professional business context use, but also use ChatGPT, DALL-E, HARPA AI for me is a good tip for summarizing, for instance, content on website. Started looking into various tools for music creation, but that's more for personal. I mentioned Loom AI, which is interesting. Also, I think things like DeepL translation. I mean, that also is probably one which a lot of people use. But these are some of the tools I really almost use daily.
That's true. DeepL is a very, very, very good tool. Yes. We have some more questions, and I actually saw comment from Marco regarding the upcoming conference. Yes, we're actually also going to have a speech at the ZetaVet Martech Summit in Winterthur on 28th of May, and also deep dive into the topic of the AI adoption in the organization. So yes, you can have a look at it, and we'll be happy to also see you there. Yes, let me now quickly publish the question I see. Yes, another question from Jessica. How can marketers stay ahead of the curve in adopting AI technologies? What would be your 3 top tips?
I mean, I would say that are almost the ones that Roger presented for that AI projects won't fail. So yeah, I think it's. I mean, okay, test a little, but I think it really helps to have a clear goal for every project. So just do not test everything a little bit. Try to have like one project or one thing with a goal where you can really like improve your things. So I think that's quite important, so that you not just do a little, that you do something that will really improve what you do. I think, yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Yes, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit what I said before. I think invest in people, exchange with other companies, look at success stories, what really worked, go to conferences, read up stuff. And also I can only, back up what Nick just said.
Sounds amazing. And now I see that we're already out of time. And yes, we answered actually all the questions that we had in the chat. Maybe let us give another minute for people. If you still have your question, you still have time. Maybe one quick question from me. Yes, also regarding the first steps of the AI adoption. So as you just mentioned, Roger, that you presented the 3 main reasons why AI projects fail in the organizations. And actually, what would you recommend to the organization that just starting to integrate AI in their organizations? What would be the first steps, so to say, in your mind?
I mean, first of all, just get clarity what you would like to achieve and what you want to improve. As I said before, there's a higher chance if you do automation, for instance, use AI for automation on your processes, because then you typically have a clear goal. I think that would be a first point. Just have a clear goal. Of course, you can also experiment. That's also okay, but typically projects survive which actually have a benefit and a measurable benefit, and get first what you really want to achieve with AI.
And Nicolas and Roger, thanks a lot for presenting today. I think it was a very insightful session. And to the audience, please, if you have any questions, you can also just write us an email. And yes, we'll be happy to answer them. Thanks a lot.